Hello, my name is Gabriel Ramirez and I am a member of Group 1 United States in reference to course CYB 670 Project 4. Attention Professor Chipman. I am here today to present a digital forensic expert testimony. Let's begin by talking about the Five Eyes Alliance. The Five Eyes Alliance, or in other words, the FVEY, consists of five different nations that include the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, all coming together for a global economic summit. During the creation of the Five Eyes Alliance, all countries had agreed to collect, share, analyze, and process all intelligent data that was significant to a secure network communication between all nations. The first project was in regards to the Global Economic Summit, and that was given the responsibility of conducting a baseline analysis for establishing a secure communications network for our assigned organization at the summit, which was the United States. The risk assessment process for a baseline analysis also requires a multidisciplinary examination of the internal and external cyber environments. Each of the five teams from the Five Eyes Alliance developed a security baseline that understood the policies and procedures for each attending nation. Project 2 consisted of nations behaving badly. In this project, we had the opportunity to work with a team of other cyber professionals to analyze and respond to anomalous network activities. This was the first known attack that was included into the overall course projects and procedures. This attack was known as a DOS, or denial of service attack. The purpose of this project was to identify attack vectors via information systems hardware, develop a vulnerability assessment matrix, and research industry's best practices and countermeasures. After completion of all pertinent data, overall research and labs were completed. We were then instructed to share our cyber defense information with all other nations that are with the Five Eyes Alliance. Project 3 consisted of a lockdown. It was considered a lockdown because the following morning, attendees tried to access their information within the network, but they had noticed that a ransomware attack had occurred. This was sanctioned by the amount of money the attacker had requested in order to release classified documents in a shared folder within the Five Eyes Alliance. The monies requested were asked to be submitted in Bitcoin. Part of this scenario included all members of the Global Economic Summit to get together and decide if everyone was willing to pay the ransom, or instead figure out a way to stop the breach and investigate the attacker by compiling a computer security incident response report. All three of these projects consisted of some type of attack. These attacks included a DOS, denial of service attack, a data exfiltration attack, which was investigating network traffic anomalies, and a ransomware attack. If we compile all three reports, and we can start to assume how the attacker gained access to the network and how to prevent future incidents from happening again by learning through past mistakes. For this forensic expert testimony, and according to the Digital Forensic Compilation Report, this is a summary of incidents that occurred while attending the Global Economic Summit. On October 10, 2020, at 1310 hours Central Standard Time, CISO Chipman compiled a list of anomalous IP addresses. Using open source, web-based, and commercial tools, the source of the anomalous network activity and associated file contents were identified. China, Russia, the Netherlands, and Venezuela were identified as primary countries of concern and bad actor derivation. On November 8, 2020, CISO Chipman reported high volume activity that resulted in web access restriction and third-party data sharing website latency. CISO Chipman subsequently classified the activity as a probable denial of service attack and requested forensic network analysis for PCAP file reduction. IP addresses of suspicion were identified as forensic network analysis for PCAP, and the addresses included 192.168.10.111 and 192.168.10.101. Deeper captured packet analysis led to the determination of a successful network intrusion with sensitive data exfiltration, in which CISO Chipman requested attacker profile development, specific exfiltrated data identification, and attacker methodology interpretation. On November 12, 2020, at 1800 hours Central Standard Time, Information Security escalated a ransomware incident where additional data exfiltration and malicious encryption occurred. On this date, an Office of Personnel Management Human Resources Benefits Coordinator received an email with a Microsoft Excel document attached which appeared to be a billing invoice from a contracted vendor. Upon initially attempting to open the invoice, a message appeared stating, "Due to security reasons, this Excel document is blank, but will populate after the automatic update of links is enabled." The benefits coordinator updated the Excel document, which resulted in the internal shared drive being encrypted and inaccessible. The files were exfiltrated and constrained for an original ransom of 500 Bitcoin, which increased to 4,500 Bitcoin per Five Eyes Alliance member. On November 20th, 2020, personnel raised concerns about the acute absence of staff member Grasschultz and submitted an investigative inquiry on their behalf. Examination of Grasschultz's government-issued machine resulted in leakages to the November 12, 2020 ransomware attack, the recovery of what appeared to be a distress resignation letter, and admission to information system security corruption. Imaging of the hard drive resulted in the discovery of it being zeroed out, and digital examination of several recovered USB drives resulted in the discovery of one being multi-partition, both common anti-forensics precursors. The following slides consist of expert testimonial questions that were considered to be addressed by the witness, which is myself in regards to this case. Question 1. What are the legal challenges associated with cyber incidents involving foreign countries? How do internal laws affect e-discovery? This is one of the biggest challenges that every nation has to contemplate, because not all nations have the same type of network security protocols, rules, regulations, and what each nation considers a cybersecurity threat. Each nation has to understand the laws pertaining to that specific country and if their laws can interact with one another. This matter is growing significantly because in today's world, everyone is dependent on information systems, electronic devices, and data networks. At the same time these systems grow, so does cybersecurity threats. New vulnerabilities are always emerging, and it is up to every nation to work together to determine what is a threat and what is an incident in regard to each nation's laws. In 2015, the United States Congress approved what is known as the Cybersecurity Act, which is supposed to protect the country from all cybersecurity threats dependably by supporting exchange through a structure between the private sector and the government sector about computer security incidents. We know we have to understand internal laws, but we must be vigilant with understanding internal laws when it comes to e-discovery, because the process of following an EDRM, or in other words, an electronic discovery reference model, can either make or break an investigation. Most organizations that include the manager, senior IT management, and CISOs have become afraid of implementing e-discovery because of the possible backlash they could receive in regards to counter lawsuits of its employees. In reference to the United States, leaders of the United States have to be resilient with internal law in order to follow correct policies and procedures for e-discovery to hold up in a court of law. What are the legal challenges of accessing and retrieving electronic evidence stored on foreign soil? Assuming cloud storage was used, what procedures were followed to access and retrieve digital evidence stored in the cloud? Assuming cloud storage was used, the retrieval of electronic evidence stored on foreign soil is based on the nation which is conducting the retrieval of information. In order to gather such evidence, a digital forensic expert must submit a data acquisition request to the correct authorities regarding which information was kept on certain soil. Keep in mind that something like this is still new to governmental agencies, and working with one another is key to success. Not every nation will be cooperative, but most nations will have the will to lend a helping hand. Since cloud storage is something every nation is still dealing with in context with laws and regulations, the procedures that followed the United States in its retrieval of data from foreign soil included enacting the Cloud Act to retrieve information. Once the CLUD or Cloud Act was activated, U.S. investigators and third-party administrators submitted proper evidence to the underlying foreign country so they in turn could exchange information with our U.S. counterparts. While this is occurring, they ensured that the MLA treaty was also observed. Question 3. Specific to the country that your team was assigned, how did the international laws and jurisdictions influence the process and procedures followed during the forensic investigation? The United States had direct help from international law and jurisdiction because these regulations assisted with the forensic investigation regarding the retrieval of data being stored on foreign soil. These logs directly stated that an expert investigator has the will to acquire evidence, and the evidence being stored should not be destroyed followed by an investigation. So that means that any information being found on cloud storage can be susceptible to an investigation, with the help of a host country and knowing the fact that the information being stored shall not be destroyed. Question 4. What conflicts arose between ethics and international laws during the forensic investigations? How did these conflicts affect the investigations? How were the conflicts mitigated or resolved? An investigative forensics examiner will sometimes run into an issue that involves ethics within a case. To add to this investigation, the laws that we are dealing with are international, dealing with other countries to find the factual truth. Some of the issues involved with the forensic investigator include the evidence that was procured, and that evidence was found. Was it securely obtained? Did it cross hands with other personnel without documentation? These are the questions that should be addressed when conducting an investigation to deter the failure of ethics within an investigator and have the trust of the legal team to ensure that all evidence is acquired appropriately. Conflicts were mitigated by ensuring that the proper chain of custody forms and all the documentation was submitted prior to the investigation, and to ensure that they had a good hold on the evidence being secured. Question 5. What steps were taken to protect United States soil and citizens during the international investigation? Describe any risks to the country, businesses, or citizens from your investigations. The United States had conducted this investigation thoroughly and efficiently. It protected its citizens and other members from other nations that were also part of the Global Economic Summit. The policies that were in place to include the Business Continuity Plan stopped the attack in its tracks to prevent further harm to computer network systems. If the United States had not acted upon the perceived threat, it could have amounted in data insecurities, financial loss, system failure, or even record deletion. The way that the United States conducted themselves shall be a precursor for other nations to follow, and how they should act dependent upon a cybersecurity threat that is inevitable. This concludes the digital forensic expert testimony interview. If you have any questions, please refer them to the CISO present. Thank you for your time.